I hope this is working. We're going to go with that it's working. We're going to go that you can see me and you can hear me. Good evening, you guys. This is Robert from Robert Rants the News, a part of the Good Morning Comrade loose affiliated network. We have a podcast that we release on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can download anywhere you can get the podcasts. If you can't find us wherever you download podcasts, which would really be impossible, you can go to goodmorningcomrade.com and find us there. You can also find me if you're watching me on Twitch Live. You can find us on Twitch, Good Morning Comrade .twitch. Oh my God, no. Twitch.tv / Good Morning Comrade. Trying to get through the plugs way too fast. We also have a Patreon. Thank you guys so much for giving to our Patreon. We really appreciate it. It helps us pay the bills. We're able to keep the show running now. We're not like coming out of our own pockets now to pay server costs and hosting fees. So we really appreciate that. The Patreon's at patreon.com / Good Morning Comrade. It should be in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, YouTube, Good Morning Comrade on YouTube. Check us out. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Follow us on Twitch. Twitter, Good Morning, Comrade Morning on Twitter. Good Morning Comrade was taken at Comrade Morning. All that should be down there in the corner if you're watching this stream live. Thank you so much for bearing with the plugs. Let's get right to the stuff that pissed me off today. So if you haven't been following the near apocalypse conditions in Texas right now, where the private unregulated power grid has failed people and they are literally freezing to death, have no water, have no food, pipes are bursting, roads are shut down, there's been no power for days. I have friends in Houston and Austin with no power. It's terrible. It's as bad. I live in New Orleans. We all do from the crew. And I didn't go through Hurricane Katrina. I've been through some minor hurricanes and I've had Cat 5. This is as bad as Katrina. 100%. Don't let anybody fool you. This is an absolute man-made tragedy of epic proportions that is brought to you by the GOP and the Republican Party. And we're going to get into how they brought that to us. Pulled up a couple news articles that we're going to read. And I swear to God right now, if the Democrats in Texas, off of this tragedy, when people finally pull through and they get to some sense of normality, cannot win every election and turn that state blue, the Democratic Party needs to dissolve, because there's no reason why anybody in that state should be voting Republican anymore at all. So let's just get to it. I don't want to waste any more time. Ranting, even though that's what you came here to hear me do, is you came here to hear me rant. And I just want to check the stream one time. I get so paranoid about the stream. Yeah, it's going. We're good. So let's get to it. No, from the Texas Tribune, Dateline today. No, frozen wind turbines are not the main culprit for Texas power outages. Lost wind power was expected to be a fraction of winter generation. All sources from natural gas to nuclear to coal to solar have struggled to generate power during the storm that has left millions of Texans in the dark. Let's see here. Frozen wind turbines in Texas caused some conservative state politicians to declare Tuesday that the state was relying too much on renewable energy, but in reality, wind power is expected to make up only a fraction of what the state had planned for during the winter. The electric reliability, I can't talk, I need to slow down. I'm trying to get too much info out. The Electric Reliability Council. Also, I come straight from work and I'm doped up on like 5 or 6 cups of coffee just to like try to stay awake at my desk job. But I come home straight from work and I jump on this and I'm still got that caffeine edge. So let's talk about the Texas Electric Reliability Council. Projected that 80% of the grid's winter capacity, make it a little bigger, or 67 gigawatts could be generated by natural gas, coal, and some nuclear power. An official with the Electric Reliability Council of Texas said Tuesday afternoon that 16 gigawatts of renewable energy generation, mostly wind generation, were offline. Double that, 30 gigawatts had been lost from thermal sources, which included gas, coal, and nuclear energy. So, Texas is a gas state, said Michael Weber, a energy resources professor at the University of Austin in Texas. Now, this is Texas Power Company ERCOT. ERCOT implemented blackouts on Monday as power plants went online. Demand for electricity during the weekend cold front far exceeded the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. That's their private, unregulated by the feds power grid. ERCOT implemented blackouts Monday to reduce demand. To reduce demand as low temperatures force more power resources offline than expected. Now, here's what's important. This goes against everything you've ever been told about the quote-unquote free market, quote-unquote run it like a business, quote-unquote we need small government. Now, you've got a company. This is a private company, ERCOT, that supplies power and sells power. Here's the most important part, under capitalism, at a profit. Now, instead of they do what companies do. Companies are not immoral, they're not amoral. Actually, that's correct. They're not immoral, they're amoral. What companies do is they provide a service, they charge you for it, and they take the profits and they put it in their pocket. Now, that's exactly what this company does. This is an example of why capitalism does not work. I would say it doesn't work at all, but it definitely, objectively, does not work when you're trying to provide things that are human needs, that are just like basic needs to exist in society: food, water, shelter, electricity, heat. This doesn't work because in a federally run system, what should be happening is if the federal government is selling this power to people, they should be taking those profits, if they're making a profit, and reinvesting it back in their grid. A company's main goal under capitalism, I know it's a surprise to y'all, to some of y'all out there, is to make as much money possible with expending the least amount of cost as possible. So their intentions is to always have the grid run at just as much as needed to be, never any better. It's the same thing with the Japanese, how they made cars so efficient. They use a just-on-time manufacturing system to where the cars would be made with the minimum amount of cost. The same thing is with our supply chain. So that's why our supply chain is breaking down here. The trucks aren't delivering the food to Texans. This always happens in a natural disaster because we rely on a just-on-time delivery system to provide never an excess, but just what the stores need to get by for the next day or week or month. So there's never an excess. So you spend as little amount of money as possible because that's what a company is going to do. That's what this company has done, and now Texas is fucked because of it. Now you've got people literally freezing to death. You've got Texans running out of food as a weather crisis disrupts food chain. I mean, look at this. Texans running out of food are finding grocery store shelves empty. Food pantries are running out of supplies, and the freeze has wiped out substantial portions of the state's citrus and vegetable crops. You have bread lines. Again, in a socialist or communist country, if there's a crisis and it breaks down, you have bread lines. In a capitalist country, you have bread lines that you have to pay at the end. That's the difference. This looks like some kind of goofy third world country. Like people are having, I talked about it yesterday, people are having to take buckets of snow, heat the snow up to bathe in and to flush their toilets. This is what's supposed to happen in other countries who are like socialist or quote unquote second world countries, or that don't that don't have the majesty of the free market. No, this is what happens here when you see the contradictions of This is the true face of capitalism. Capitalism is get fucked. Like in Scarface, we're like, oh, let me tell you what the economy is about is get fucked. When Tony had to finally pay his taxes, you're dealing with the same thing here. Capitalism is fuck you. I'll provide you services at a high cost, and I'll provide you the minimum amount to make sure that I limit my costs so I can take the most amount of profit and not reinvest it in society, but to put it in my pocket. That's what's happening here. Let's see what else we got. A week's worth of weather hell started with a deadly 133-car pileup outside of Fort Worth. A winter storm unlike any Texas has ever seen quickly followed, and 7 days later, millions are without power and reliable water. And now Texans are running out of food. From farm to table, freezing temperatures and power outages are disrupting the food supply chain. that people rely on every day. Across the state, people are using supplies they had stockpiled and losing more as items start to spoil in dark refrigerators because they have no power, because the power grid does just what it can to make sure it makes the maximum amount of profit. Their goal is not to bring electricity and heat and warmth to Texans' homes. Their goal is to make as much profit as they can while providing the minimum amount of services. Some stores are storing their remaining rations in coolers outside. Coolers the fuck outside in the United States of America. And trips to the grocery store often do little to replenish pantries, like some kind of a damn zombie movie. Quote, "It was out of meat, eggs, and almost all milk before I left," said Crystal Porter, an Austin resident, said about her local Target she visited Monday. "Lines were wrapped around the store when we arrived. Shelves were almost fully cleared for potatoes, meat, eggs, and some dairy." 2 days later, one of Porter's neighbors went inside that same Target, and the store was completely out of food, with no signs of additional shipments arriving or employees restocking shelves. Jesus Christ. Look at this on the right here. Can y'all? This is America. Again, how can I stay warm? Like this is some kind of damn game of steampunk. How can I stay warm? How can I help others? And I'm so sick of hearing about this is the greatest country that on earth. When we have news articles of how can I stay warm? This thing, especially with the amount of money we spend on bullshit, and we can murder anybody with our military instantly from any point in the world. We have people reading articles here in the U.S. saying, "How can I stay warm?" This is ridiculous. But let's listen to a free market defender here. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry claims Texans would rather endure blackouts than a federally regulated power grid. Unbelievable. I got to see a quote for this. Texas Republican and former Governor Rick Perry penned a blog post on Minority House leader Kevin McCarthy's website, making the audacious claim that Texas would rather continue to deal with blackouts than to have the federal government regulate their power grid. And I quote, Texans would be without electricity for longer than 3 days to keep the federal government out of their business, Perry wrote. Tell that to the people who are fucking frozen to death, you fucking inhuman monster. What a monster. So instead of having this is his argument. Instead of having a federally regulated power grid that would keep people warm, safe, and fed because their food wouldn't be going stale and rotten in their freezer during climate change, because this is climate change. This is one of the, people, how could it be global warming if it's so cold? No, this is the effects of climate change. This is what happens as a result of poisoning our earth and the atmosphere. We get freak weather, and it gets freakier and freakier and more commonplace. But yeah, this is climate change. So we have an event that's a life-ending. People have already died. This isn't just a dangerous event. This is a deadly weather event. And this asshole is claiming that Texans are so stupid. I have more faith in people in the South. As somebody who's from the South and somebody who resides in the South, I have more faith in Southern people that they're not so dumb that they rather have their quote unquote freedoms in the grave, which are bullshit. That's bullshit. You're not any more free. You're free to fucking freeze to death instead of having a federally regulated power grid that will fucking keep you alive. But you rather have the freedom to freeze to death so the freedom that people can fucking fleece you every month, make a profit off of you, make a profit of your basic need to stay warm, and you can have your freedoms in the grave. What a fucking asshole. His power didn't go out. I can tell you that. He had power the whole time. And he's speaking for Texans and telling them how they would live. But this asshole never lost power. It's unbelievable. It's disgusting. It's sickening. This is why capitalism doesn't work. This is why we need a socialist revolution. I challenge anybody to come at me with some bullshit about the free market. I accept all debate challenges from anybody who can hear this from the sound of my voice. You message me, DMs are open at comrademorning.com, at comrademorning. I'm going to make this quick. I got shit to do tonight. I might be back on to play video games. Be great. Hopefully I am. If not, I will talk to y'all tomorrow on Friday. Again, check out the podcast. I believe we had an episode released today. Anywhere you download podcasts, Good Morning Comrade. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, Good Morning Comrade. Give us a follow on Twitch, twitch.tv, Good Morning Comrade. On Twitter, at Good Morning Comrade. And anywhere else we are, I can't think of it. Hit our Patreon, Good Morning Comrade on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting this, and I will see you guys later.